Thank you for joining me for part 3 of episode 39 of the Educational Duct Tape Podcast. This is the third part of episode number 17 of season 2, and today I'll continue sharing responses from more than a dozen educators who stepped up to share some tech tips for home learning to benefit any educators who are instructing during school closures due to the coronavirus pandemic. Today, we talk about strategies for tracking student progress through content and assignments for remote learning.
Hi, I'm Kim Laprie from the Teachers Need Teachers podcast, a part of the Education Podcast Network, just like the show you're listening to now. Shows on the network are individually owned and opinions expressed may not reflect others. Find other interesting podcasts at edupodcastnetwork.com.
Welcome to the Educational Duct Tape Podcast with Jake Miller.
Happy Monday! Can you even tell it's Monday? If you're like me, the days are starting to blend together. And not in the way that days over spring break or summer break or winter break blend together in a joyful, chill, blissful kind of way. They're blending together in this jarring kind of way. Wow, Jake, thanks. Way to start off lighthearted there, Jake. Guys, this is tough. I'm not going to lie. And let me say, we're all in the same boat, and yet we're all in totally different boats. You've got your own set of challenges that you're dealing with right now, and so does everyone else listening, and so do I. And yet we're all dealing with interrelated challenges, and for that reason, we're all in this together. And as I keep seeing on Twitter, we're all #BetterTogether. And so in the spirit of better togetherness, I've got some insights from other educators to share with you today. First, if you haven't listened to parts 1 or 2 of this little series, I recommend that you jump back and listen to them in chronological order. But alas, I don't want to tell you what to do. I'm just glad you're here. A little podcast info for you here to start with. First, this will be the only episode for this week, the week of March 23rd. I'm not going to do an episode this Wednesday, which is my normal episode day. I'll come back next week with new content. I'm not sure if it'll be a regular episode or a mini episode or another remote learning episode. Heck, if you have an opinion on what should come next, just let me know. Send me an email or a tweet or a DM or whatever and tell me what you think. I'm JakeMillerTech on all social media and JakeMillerTech@gmail.com for email. If you think I should do more remote learning stuff, I'd love to hear what topics you'd like to hear about, and I'd reach out to the duct tapers and see their insights on it. If you'd like me to get back to the regular format or share some mini episodes or whatever, I'm all ears on that too. Just let me know. Next up, this Wednesday, March 25th, so 2 days after this episode comes out, we'll have our regularly scheduled #EduDuctTape Twitter chat at 9:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We'll be talking about the 3 questions that we addressed across these 3 episodes: synchronous video, formative assessment, and progress tracking and remote learning. We'll also do some which of the following would be less torturous, because we all deserve and need a chance to laugh in these times. Speaking of which, after the soapbox moment today, I've got my 8-year-old daughter, Parker, joining me to do some which of the following would be less torturous. I hope it makes you laugh and smile. 2 final notes. If you feel like I could support you in any way, feel free to set up an appointment with me to do a Google Hangout. Just head over to Calendly, that's CALENDLY.com/JakeMillerTech. And finally, if you want to get PD credit for listening to this episode, just head to eduducttape.com/certificate. You'll need the super secret code that I share later in the episode. Oh, sorry. Hold on. Let me just grab my soapbox from over here. Yeah. There we go. That's perfect. Climb up on there. One of my favorite movies of the 90s was 10 Things I Hate About You. In the movie, one teenage girl, played by Gabrielle Union, asks another, I know you can be underwhelmed and you can be overwhelmed, but can you ever just be, like, whelmed? And her friend responds, I think you can in Europe. The truth, if you consult dictionaries, is that whelmed essentially means pretty much close to the same thing as overwhelmed means. It's just another odd item in our language. Anyhow, we are all whelmed right now. Wait, even though that's accurate, seriously, Google Docs tells me the definition of whelmed is engulf, submerge, or bury. Anyhow, even though saying we're all whelmed is accurate by that definition, it seems like an understatement. We are all overwhelmed. And if humans are currently overwhelmed, teachers are overwhelmed. And if teachers are overwhelmed, teachers who are also parents are overwhelmed. And if teachers who are also parents are overwhelmed, then teachers from schools that were behind in technology integration are overwhelmed. So let me try to help. First, tech companies are being super generous right now. Lots of tools, offering lots of free access, and lots of webinars, and lots of tweets, and lots of support, and lots of... Wait, maybe super generous isn't the right phrase here. Let me try that sentence again. First, tech companies are being overwhelming right now. They're creating something that I refer to as the paradox of choice. Now, this isn't my own creation. This is something that Barry Schwartz talks about in one of my favorite TED Talks titled The Paradox of Choice. He says, all of this choice produces paralysis rather than liberation. With so many options to choose from, people find it very difficult to choose at all. That quote has always resonated with me as someone who supports educators in the integration of technology, but my goodness does it now. I think there are two major reasons that EdTech options create this paralysis. First, there are too many choices, and second, there's too much pressure. Have I ever told you about my least favorite 6 words? I can't really remember if I've referenced it on the podcast or not. Anyhow, my least favorite 6 words are, what restaurant should we go to? Otherwise known in March 2020 as, where should we order takeout from? Which actually, first of all, is takeout 1 or 2 words? I'm not sure. But now I'm seeing that now we probably shouldn't even be doing that. So maybe I don't hate these words as much as I thought I did. Maybe I would like to have the choice of going to a restaurant. But the reason that was always so stressful for me is because it seemed like it was such high stakes and there was so many choices. And this is the same problem that we have with tech tools. If my wife and kids are disappointed in our dinners and I pick the restaurant, it feels like it's my fault. Same with these tech tools. If you try one and it goes poorly, it seems like such a huge failure. So how do we pick what we do? First of all, you can only pick one thing. Especially in these times, you and your students cannot handle more than one new thing, at least one thing at a time. And the best way to do that is by narrowing down your choices, really focusing on what it is you're looking for. For me, back when we were actually able to go out to restaurants and my wife would ask me what restaurant we should go to, I tried asking some questions to narrow down what types of things she and my kids might be interested in. Are you interested in Mexican food? Are you in the mood for a burger? Do you want to drink with dinner? Are the kids coming with us? Are the kids hungry? Do you want to eat quickly? Like all these different questions would help me narrow down to something that was a feasible, good option. And then really I had the power to make that choice. So how do we do that with tech tools? I like the formula E plus R equals O for this. If you've never heard of it, it stands for event plus response equals outcome. You have an event that you have no control over, and you have an outcome that you are hoping to get to. All that you can control is your response. So you think about your current event, and this is more than just coronavirus and remote learning. This includes the age of your kids, the tech they have or don't have, the content you need to teach them, everything about your circumstances. And then you think about your outcome. Where do you hope to get to? Are you focusing on content learning, keeping rapport, maintaining connections, helping your students feel safe and happy? What's your outcome? What is your focus right now? Then what response gets you there? It might be one of the synchronous video tools from the first part of this episode last week on Wednesday. It might be one of the formative assessment tools from the second part released on Friday. It might be one of the items that we talk about today. It'll be different from listener to listener and teacher to teacher. And it should be based on exactly what that listener or teacher is trying to accomplish. But once you really focus in on what outcome you're trying to achieve, you eliminate the burrito place because your wife's not in the mood for burritos, and the sushi place because your kids aren't in the mood for that. And you're just left with places that serve the burger that your daughter's in the mood for, the hot dog that one son's in the mood for, the grilled cheese that the other son's in the mood for, and the salad that your wife's in the mood for. That really focuses in your outcome, and then choosing your response becomes much easier. In these situations, there's not a whole lot that's easy going on right now in our world. But when we're trying to decide what to do in our virtual classrooms, our remote classrooms, our home classrooms, the best thing we could do is really focus in on that E plus R equals O. You might want to pause right now to identify your E, R, and O. What are your event, response, and outcome? Where are you trying to get to? What is your current circumstances? And that's different for all of us. And what response can you choose to help you get there?
Which of these things do you consider to be less torturous?
Okay, so part 3 of this episode series means which of the following would be less torturous with kid 3 of the Miller family, which is actually the middle kiddo. That's typical middle child treatment, is that she has to go last. But this is my daughter, Parker. Parker is 8. Welcome in, Parker. How you doing?
Hi.
You excited, Park?
Yes.
Yes, Parker's very excited. She's been watching the brothers be on the podcast, and she's like, when is my turn, right?
I don't talk like that.
You don't talk. What do you talk like? Say when is my turn in your voice.
When is my turn?
Oh, very, very ladylike and polite, huh? Okay, so let's listen to your question and then hear the first response. You ready?
Yes! Which of the following would be less torturous? Only wearing summer clothes in the winter or only wearing winter clothes in the summer?
Hey, Jake, Allison Curry checking in from Fairbanks, Alaska. So wearing winter clothes in the summer or summer clothes in the winter, such a quandary. However, I really think that wearing summer clothes in the winter would be less torturous. If you had to wear winter clothes in the summer, I mean, that would make everything so difficult. Like, how are you supposed to water ski in snow pants? Like, it's impossible, right? But you could certainly ice skate in a thong. So I think you'd be okay. But anyway, look forward to hearing everybody else's responses. Bye.
All right, Parker, so that was my friend Allison from up in Alaska. What did you think of her answer?
What's a thong?
What's a thong? Uh-oh. Allison, why are you making me teach my 8-year-old daughter what a thong is? What is going on, Allison? Parker, do you really know what a thong is? Are you being silly?
No, I do not.
A thong is like a bathing suit that doesn't cover your butt. It just goes up the crack of your butt.
That makes no sense.
Would you want to wear one of those while you're out skiing?
It doesn't sound comfortable.
It doesn't sound comfortable in the summer or in the winter, but less so in the winter.
I still do not understand what it is.
Okay, let's hear another one.
Hi, my name's Linda Hummer, and I am going to answer the question about wearing clothing. The clothing I would pick would be the winter clothes in the summer, because I tend to be cold all the time. Of course, when that happens, I'll probably end up having a hot flash, and then I'll sweat to death and melt into a little puddle. Oh well, that's my choice. Hey, have a great day.
All right, Parker, so Linda is choosing to wear winter clothes in the summer, right? Because she's always cold, is that what she said?
Yeah.
And then she's worried she's going to have a hot flash and get too hot and melt into a puddle. What do you think of that response?
First of all, it was good dance party music, and I don't know what it would be like to be a puddle.
Maybe we should ask Olaf.
Oh.
This is kind of like Olaf, isn't it?
I don't think Olaf would like being a puddle.
I don't think so either. But some people are worth melting for, don't you think?
They say that in the movie. When?
They do, you're right.
When?
When? In the first one?
Yeah.
When he's by the fireplace.
Oh!
Let's hear another one, Park.
Hey, I'm Kim from Michigan. We're all sitting here in the basement. Anyways, I'm thinking that I would want to wear summer clothes in the winter because I would love to have a reason to sit in front of the fire all day and turn my thermostat up to 80. Yep, summer clothes in the winter.
Parker, what do you think of Kim's idea, wearing summer clothes in the winter and hanging out by the fireplace? You like it?
I think that would let us have extra cookies.
Extra cookies? Well, we normally do have cookies in front of the fireplace, right?
We never turn the fireplace on.
That's true. Ours smells kind of funny. What's up with that?
I've never seen the fireplace.
You haven't? Let's go turn it on. You know what Cohen would say?
What?
It smells like stink bugs.
Doesn't Cohen talk about beach bodies?
He does talk about beach bodies. Let's hear another one.
Hey everybody, my name is David Allen. I'm a special ed consultant for Hardin County Schools here in Elizabethtown, Kentucky. For me, the least torturous would be to wear summer clothes in winter. I think wearing winter clothes in summer would not be good, especially for people who are next to me. You can only wear so much deodorant. I hope everyone's doing well. Hope everyone is seeing maybe some light in the tunnel. I will talk to everybody later. Bye.
So, Parker, David is like me, and he's a little worried he's going to get too sweaty if he wears winter clothes in the summer. That's the way I'd feel. I'd rather be a little bit too cold than a little bit too hot because I would be pretty sweaty. What do you think of that?
I would just not like to answer the question.
Why not?
I don't like questions.
It was your question.
I like thinking of questions, not answering them.
Interesting. Well, I haven't asked you your answer yet. Parker, which of the following would be less torturous, wearing winter clothes in the summer or summer clothes in the winter?
Swimming pool and cookies.
Swimming pool and cookies. There we go. Thank you, Parker, for that great insight. Oh, you goofball. Let's go ahead and get into some actual educational duct tape now that Parker's getting a little bit silly. Parker, will you come back in a little bit to answer a few more of these with us?
Yes. Can we code?
Can we code what? Code the answers?
Yes.
Yes. Okay, we'll come back and we'll use Scratch for the next part. Okay, Parker?
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. All right, so as you can see, Parker is very into coding and computer science lately. She is obsessed with Scratch, and she has discovered some stuff on code.org like Tinker and some of the built-in code.org stuff that she absolutely loves. So she's more excited to talk about coding than she is about winter clothes in the summer or summer clothes in the winter. And you know what I'm more excited to talk about? Educational technology and how we can use it to creatively solve the different problems and things like that that we have in our classrooms normally, but in our settings as remote teachers and remote learners nowadays. So the question that I put out there to educational duct tape listeners was, how can we track student progress through assignments and content in remote learning or home learning settings, whatever you want to call it? So we know we're putting the work out there. How can we best make sure that they're finishing it? I think it's really important to make sure that we're not assigning too much or too little and that we're keeping the pace just right for our learners. Maybe too little is not such a thing in this situation, but regardless, we need to be able to check and see what students are moving through things at what rate so we could support those that maybe aren't moving through them at the rate we want, or we could slow it down, or we could speed it up, or whatever we might need to do. So how can we track that progress? So I actually have my own answer that I'm going to give to this question. That's something that I used to do in my STEM classroom that worked really well for me to track progress of students all working on different tasks at different times. I'm going to share that answer, but first, we're going to hear what the duct tapers have to say.
Hi, my name is Lester Dinerstein again. Tracking student progress. I guess I'm just going to be lazy. I use Google Classroom. I can put my assignments in order, and then if kids have any questions, I can just, I can answer them in the Google Classroom, give clarification. I can upload videos if I wanted to. WeVideo, for example, is now free for us if we want to go adventurous and get that. Google Classroom is where I can organize everything. I can answer questions to students. I can upload videos if I need to do a Screencastify, Flipgrid, whatever, and I can converse with students. Over the next couple of weeks, I'm going to look at WeVideo. I'm going to look at Adobe Spark. I'd be interested to see what everybody else is going to do. I'm interested in Microsoft Teams and how that works, although I don't think I can get that off the ground this year. I think I'd have to wait till next year. But Microsoft Teams really seems to have a lot of good features. Unfortunately, I heard it crashed a couple days ago. And again, I have had no issues with Google Classroom.
All right, thank you for that, Les. And Les makes a great point. If you're already using Google Classroom, it does offer a great way to kind of see all the work that you've assigned in order and all the things that students have assigned in order, and for them to see a to-do list in order, and for you to see what has been submitted and what is missing and what is not missing. So just any kind of learning management system like that is a great way to be able to track student progress. And he also alluded to Microsoft Teams there. As he said correctly, I don't think it's a good time to go ahead and launch into something brand new like that. But if you are in a Microsoft school district, I have heard great things about what Microsoft Teams can do, kind of as a Google Classroom or learning management substitute, but then also some kind of other things in work and task management and things like that. So it could go really well for you there too. He alluded to issues with Teams going down. The nice thing about using tools like those from Google and Microsoft is we know that when the internet causes something to go wrong with any of them, they go down like that, they are fixed relatively quickly because they are big companies that can handle those things quickly. Let's hear what the next duct taper had to say.
Hey guys, Rebecca Edsel here. I'm a tech coach for the Diocese of Syracuse, 22 schools, 7 counties here in upstate New York, where we are all shut down now. And this question, I love this question because this is the one that my teachers are struggling with. My current predicament in remote learning in school is this one. How do we make sure our students are held accountable? How can we possibly do that when we don't know what it is they're doing? My answer to this question is it depends on the mode of learning you're into. So we have the ability now, if you're doing packets, they can drop off the packets. I hate the freaking packets. But that's where some of our kids are at, right? If you don't have the ability to connect because there is no device or internet connectivity in your home, that's what we've got. I'm also telling teachers that there's no shame in a phone call. In fact, I've been encouraging them to pick up the phone and call the parents, say, hey, can I talk to Skippy? I really miss him. I just want to check in. you could ask some questions right there. How's the math coming? You could ask some informal assessment questions. So Joey, explain to me like how you did on this problem, or have them demonstrate learning over the phone. What's wrong with old school, right? It worked back in the day. And hopefully, though, we have the means of Google Classroom, Flipgrid. We've got the means of Screencastify for kids to make us videos. I'm hoping that people are using Pear Deck and Nearpod and embedding formative assessments. You can make a Google Forms with a quiz. You could absolutely knock it out of the park with any of these things. What about Kahoot, quizzes, those sorts of things? But I think I go back to Matt Miller with like, maybe it's time for non-Googleable things because kids can Google it while they're at home. So maybe the things we need to be assessing are deeper understanding things like how do you apply the concepts of angles that we use today, and have them maybe take some pictures of like different things around the home. We always talk about how we don't have time in school to do that project. I don't have time for projects. I want to do bigger things. Guess what? We got time. So let them use their time to create. Let them show you what they know, however they can shout it out. I'm excited about the possibilities for creativity with this shutdown.
One of my favorite things about Rebecca's answer there was that clearly she is in a remote learning situation, just like the rest of us are. And anytime, this is what it feels like in my house, like you're trying to record and somebody is using the microwave in the background and somebody's phone dings and something else goes off and there's clearly other people moving around the house and things like that. That is our life right now, right? But she also made some really great educational technology points. The first of which is, as she kind of said at the end there, that this is kind of an exciting opportunity for us to have students creating. However, we want to make sure that we're not over asking of our students in this situation. But I do agree with Rebecca that there is a chance here to do some kind of project-based things where the kids are at home because, asking Googleable questions is a problem here. She brought up another fantastic point, which is just making phone calls. And this came up a week or so ago when I was on the Sons of Technology podcast. And I think that it was Kyle Anderson that said it, if I'm remembering correctly. And he said, why not just make phone calls? And I was like, oh my gosh, why not just make phone calls? Obviously, if you're a middle school or high school teacher and you have 100 and some students, it might not be possible to contact all of your students by the phone. But if you're an elementary school teacher, or if you just break them up, do 5 or 10 a day or something like that, maybe it's realistic to call all of your students to talk to them. So that could be a good way to manage tracking student progress in these situations. Okay, let's hear another answer.
Hey, Allison Curry from Fairbanks, Alaska. I'm a middle school ELA teacher and Google certified trainer. And I just realized I forgot to introduce myself in the other question. And I know you're only supposed to answer one. I know I am good at following directions, but I really want to answer this one too. Like, adults are the worst. Anyway, so what would I use to track assessment if it's just like a short period of time? Let me turn my light on. I'm really a fan of Seesaw, even for big kids, because the learning journals in Seesaw, just over the past year, I've been so impressed because the creation tools that are in the learning journals are so multifaceted, because you can either draw something, type something, record something, video something, upload something. So if I'm going to track a student's progress, I'm not one of those teachers that's like, fill out this worksheet and here's the key. I am like, show me what you got. Show me what you know. You know that? Then show me. Put it right there. So Seesaw for me is the best way to track student progress, because it's completely organic. It comes from the student. As long as you're clear with your objectives and clear with your directions, and your kids are comfortable with Seesaw learning journals, I do not recommend you try any tech tool for the first time during a 2-week closure. But if your class is already jamming with Seesaw, then you're good. You can get right on there and say, show me this, go to this resource, come back and create this product. It's a great way to track. Now, this is coming from an elementary standpoint where you only have one room of 25 kids. I think in a secondary model, it's a little more difficult, and you might need something that's, more large scale. But for an elementary teacher who's looking for a way to track progress, Seesaw is a great tool for that, because the student ownership and engagement is top notch, and the tools are excellent. Bye.
I like that in Allison's answer there, she's kind of doing two things. She's tracking student progress, as I asked in the question, but she's also assessing student learning, because if the students are going in there and they're posting these learning artifacts and reflecting on their learning and things like that in these Seesaw learning journals, then they're also demonstrating their comprehension of things. So it's kind of a double-edged sword, and it puts the kid in the driver's seat of this experience, which is super important. And she makes a great point there. If you're not already using Seesaw, now is not the time to launch it. But those of you who are already using it, this is a great reward, that you now have the opportunity, a way for the kids to essentially journal what they're doing and what they're learning, so that you could be assessing as they go and supporting as they go, and that they really are feeling ownership over this progress and really directing their learning and their progress through the content that you have planned for them. Okay, so those are all the audience submissions for this question. I do have an answer of my own that I'm excited to share with you, but first I'm going to bring Parker back in for a little more which of the following would be less torturous. All right, Parker, we're going to first start with my friend Lance McClard, who was so excited that he answered all three questions, so we don't hear his introduction here. Are you ready to hear him?
Yes.
I think I'd rather wear summer clothes in the winter, because when you are larger, wearing summer clothes in the winter is sometimes not that bad, because you're always trying to cool off. All right, have a great day.
All right, so Lance says he wants to wear summer clothes year-round so it can help him cool off. What's your favorite thing to help you cool off, Park?
Ice cream and going in the pool.
Ooh. What's your favorite flavor of ice cream?
Either vanilla or Oreo.
Vanilla or Oreo? You know Daddy's an Oreo guy, right? Oreo Blizzards with chocolate ice cream, right?
Yes, I like Dairy Queen.
I've got one of those up in the freezer that I'm going to eat after we're done. Did you know that?
I steal.
You think I should give you a bite? She's nodding her head yes with wicked eyes right now. Right here, another one?
Yeah.
Hi, my name is Molly Cloder from Streetsboro City Schools. It would be far less torturous to wear winter clothes in the summer. I'm always cold. It could be 90 degrees outside and I have socks and a blanket. I'm always cold. So if in the summertime it were socially appropriate for me to wear a sweater every day, I'd be living my best life. It would be far less torturous to wear winter clothes in the summer. Shorts are overrated.
Parker, do you agree with Molly? Are shorts overrated?
What's that mean?
Do people like shorts too much?
I don't know.
Do you like, which is your choice here? You've never answered this for us. Would you rather wear winter clothes in the summer or summer clothes in the winter?
Don't make me pick.
Oh,
Ooh, ha, ha, ha.
all of the teachers who have kids at home right now because of the school closures know my pain right now. I can't get Parker to be serious. Park.
Again, my name is Mr. Greer, or Jonathan Greer. I teach at Madison Middle School in Richmond, Kentucky, and we are on 3 weeks of NTI. So we're home for 3 weeks and doing non-traditional instruction days. So what I would find less torturous of the three would be summer clothes in winter. Well, no. Yeah, summer clothes in winter, because you can always find somewhere warm to go and get warmer, but you cannot cool down if you decide to be in the heat with, in the summertime with winter clothes on. So that's what I would choose. All right, good to see everybody tuning in. Have a great day.
Parker, I have to be honest, I'm not even sure what Jonathan said there because I kept hearing the beeping noise, and I think that his smoke detector needs its battery replaced. Did you hear the beeping noise?
Only the music that's good for a dance party.
Yeah, Parker's favorite part of being a part of this recording right now is that when I play the transition music, she dances to the music. Show everybody your dance moves, Parker.
But they can't see me.
Oh, you got that better than your brothers. Parker knew you guys wouldn't be able to see her dance moves. You just have to picture her dance moves right now. But every time it plays, Parker does a little happy dance. What do you call that dance? Do you call it the happy dance?
It's the winning dance.
The winning dance? Or that's the duct tape boogie.
No, the winning dance.
Okay. One more, Parker. You ready?
Okay.
Hey everyone, this is Dan Stitzel from Streetsboro City Schools. I want to first say, Jake, you should probably be a little worried that your kids are coming after your job, because these are some of the best questions that I've heard on your podcast all year. So just putting that out there. However, my answer, I would choose to wear summer clothes in the winter, because then I would have an actual excuse or reason to drink the amount of coffee that I drink every day, just trying to stay warm. So thanks, and I hope everyone stays well.
Parker, Dan thinks that you and your brothers are coming for my job. This is going to be the Educational Duct Tape podcast hosted by Beckett, Cohen, and Parker Miller. Do you think it's happening?
I think it would be the educational washi tape.
Educational what tape?
Washi tape.
What's washi tape?
It's the ones with the pretty designs on them.
What?
And I'm in charge of the podcast now, not my brothers.
Okay, you guys still going to talk about educational technology, or what are you going to talk about?
Scratch.
Parker, you really do love using Scratch, don't you?
Yes.
Yes, you love coding and programming and making games and making videos and making animations and all kinds of stuff in there, huh?
Yes, I also like other stuff like code.org and Tinker.
Yep, you've been loving doing that stuff lately, haven't you?
Yes.
Yes, you're my computer science girl, right?
Yes.
Yeah? All
I
right.
like rocks.
And you like rocks? Oh, yeah, you're a geology girl, too.
Yeah.
Parker's favorite things about doing some home learning is having a little bit of extra time to do some computer science-y stuff on the computer and going for hikes and looking at rocks.
You still have to introduce me to WeVideo.
To WeVideo, yes, and WeVideo's next, Parker. Man, Parker's keep my toes to the fire here.
Daddy's toes are not in the fire, just so you know.
That's true. People were probably worried about my toes being in fire right there. Parker, thank you for being on the show today.
Do I have to leave now?
Yes. Thank you, sweetie.
I take Daddy to jail.
Ah, what a goofy little girl. No shortage of giggles when Parker's around, as you could tell. And as you could tell from the last 3 episodes, there is never a dull moment in the Miller household with these 3 kiddos. They're a lot of fun to be around. I hope you guys are finding times for fun and for smiles during these difficult times. I know that I'm having the low times, but the time with the kids bring a lot of the high times too. So make us happy, keep us grounded, keep us smiling during these difficult times. Now, back to some educational duct tape now. So today's question that we were talking about was how we could track student progress through content and assignments during home learning or remote learning. Now, so what I meant there with that question was, we're sending home days or weeks worth of assignments. How can we be sure what they're all finishing? And there's a lot of different ways to do that. But the one that really jumped off the page to me is the way that I used to do it when I was a STEM teacher. So let me tell you about that STEM class. So it was a middle school STEM class. Every kid in the school took it for a quarter in 7th grade. I didn't teach that one. My friend Dave taught that one. And I taught it for 8th grade, and each kid took it for a quarter in 8th grade. Now, when we first designed it, we were super excited about the class, and we thought it was going to be the most exciting, amazing class ever, and it was. It started out very good, and then in the second 9 weeks, I had that class. You ever had that class before, that group of students where you're like, what did somebody put in the water 13 years ago, right? Or like, was I mean to the guidance counselor at the Christmas party last year, so she gave me this bad group of kids together? Like, what happened to put these 32 kids in the room together? What did I do wrong to end up with these students? And every year on October 4th, I get my reminder of this group when I see my Facebook memory from that year, and it just reads simply, sometimes during my second period class, I legitimately consider curling up on the floor, closing my eyes, and rocking myself. Well, how does this relate to how to track student progress in remote learning? Well, I'm getting there. So when I see that post, I always look back at the comments, and most of the comments are from the teachers that I worked with at that school, and most of them are some form of agreement, like, I covered that class for you last week when you were at a conference, they were rough, or I walked by your room the other day and I saw them, yeah, good luck getting that class to behave, or I get them third period, I know your pain. And a lot of this stuff where we were just saying that basically it was a bad group of students and there was no way to get that group of students to pay attention and to stay on task. Well, after a couple weeks of this, I started to really reflect on it and figure out, why is it that I have 3 other classes that are fine, but this particular class, like, it's a madhouse when they're in the room with me. Is it possible that they're really that bad of a group of kids? And I started reflecting on what was happening during class, and I realized that as I kind of went through the seating chart in my mind, I realized that all of my behavior problem students were either students who were very fast processors and very fast workers and picked up on things very quickly, and they were getting done with activities before the rest of the class and were goofing off, or they were kids who were slower processors. It took them a little more time to get through a task. Not necessarily they were struggling at it, but they just couldn't do it as fast as everybody else. And so instead of embarrassing themselves by not being able to get done or feeling silly about their speed or anything like that, they were goofing off. Now, there were some kids in both of those portions of the spectrum who were doing just fine behaviorally. But then the kids in the middle range, those Goldilocks kids who my instruction was just right for, they were all behaving perfectly. I was having no behavior problems from them. And I started to realize, maybe I'm part of the problem here. And this is one of those first times I used E plus R equals O. I realized that the event I had no control over was that I had this group of students large group of kids, I couldn't pick who was in the class. I couldn't change who was in the class. I couldn't change their abilities or their processing speeds or their rate of work or anything like that. I couldn't change anything about the group of kids. But I had this outcome that I wanted, right? And that was for them all to be happy, them all to be proud, them all to learn, and them to behave themselves. And so I thought, what response can I do to get me there? And what I realized was the problem was that I was asking all of these kids of varying ability levels, and I can't change their ability levels. I was asking all of them to work at the same pace. So I realized that I needed a response that enabled this variety of students of varying ability levels that differentiated the rate they went through their work so that they could all be happy and proud and successful and behaved. Right? So I needed to pick an R, a response that got me to that outcome. And what I ended up settling on was a student-paced course. So I built a Google site that had all of the activities in order, and kids just went in order through them. Now, that seems like a big, tedious project, but really it was the activities that I had taught the previous quarter, just put onto a website for the kids to get to them themselves. Now, it took some work to turn them from teacher-led activities to student-led activities, but I really just had to stay one day ahead of the kids with those activities, right? Like, if the fastest kid in the class is on activity 5 today, then I just need to make sure I have activity 6 ready for tomorrow. I just had to stay one day ahead of them. And that was a challenge. It was difficult. It was hard work, but it really did help with these behavior problems I was having. It didn't fix everything. It wasn't perfect. It wasn't a utopia, but it really did help. And it also allowed me to do other things, right? Like, during class, I didn't have to deal with behavior problems anymore because the kids were all working, and I didn't have to be at the front of the room trying to teach them while kids were interrupting me. I could circulate around the room and ask them questions and have deep discussions with them and ask higher order thinking questions and do some formative assessing through a discussion that I never got to do before. And it was really improving the learning environment in my classroom. All because I thought about what response can I do to get me to the outcome I needed. Now, you're like, how does that help me in home learning, Jake? Well, the step that helped me was the very next step. That was when I realized that I had a new problem, because a lot of times we put a technology in place to solve a problem or address a need that we have, and then that sheds light on a new problem that we can attack. And what I discovered was sometimes I would finish circulating through my classroom. I called it a typewriter walk. I'd go back and forth, back and forth, back and forth from one corner of the classroom to the far corner of the classroom until I had talked to every kid in the room and checked in with them. Sometimes I would get to that last kid on the typewriter walk and find out that they hadn't been doing anything all period. And I would say, why haven't you done anything all period? And they would say something to the effect of, well, I needed your help. And I'd say, well, but I told you you're supposed to let me know when you need help and I'll come right over to you and help you out. And I can remember this one girl saying to me, you look like you were having a good time talking to all the other students. And I was like, well, I was having a good time, but your problem takes priority in that situation. You should have called me over to help you with it. And I realized E plus R equals O, right? I can't change the tendency of middle school students to do irrational things like not ask for help when they need help. I have an outcome where I need them to get that help as soon as possible, so I needed a response. So what I added to this class, and this is what you could use right now, today, in a home or remote learning environment, is I added a Google form to this website. And every day when my students entered class, they sat down at their computer and they filled out this Google form once every day at the beginning of the period. Okay? And it asked them 4 questions. What's your name? What class period is it? What activity you're on? And do you have anything else to tell me? And I think that this could be something that you could use in remote or home learning. What if your kids filled out a Google form every day and they told you where they were? You could also ask some other things like, how are things going? How are you feeling? Because we really need to be doing those SEL things, especially in this difficult situation. But what this form did for me is every day in class, I would look at that Google sheet that came out of the Google form, and I could realize some things really quickly, right? I would see those kids who needed my help right away, and I could give them the help right away. Okay, that could work in home or remote learning as well. I would also see what kids were really far behind. And it was okay for them to be far behind because my class was student-paced, but I needed to make sure I was supporting them and helping them move forward. So I knew that was a kid I needed to check with quickly, right? It also let me see other comments that kids would make and give them support or commend them on good efforts and things like that. And it let me see which kid was the furthest ahead. And I'd know, hey, this kid's on activity 17 right now. I better get activity 18 ready for tomorrow, right? But then it really helped me focus in on the kids who needed my support. And then actually, I could use some class time to prepare activity 18 because I knew every other kid in the class was fine. So I think if I were teaching a class during this remote learning situation, which I'm not because I'm an instructional tech coach, but if I was teaching a class in this situation, I would be using something like this Google form. I'd be asking each kid to check in on where they're at every day. I would tell the kids, if you have days where you can't get any work done because whatever's going on in your household or because you're not feeling well or something like that, it's okay. But this is my way of keeping tabs on where you are. This will help you control your expectations for your students, right? It'll also help you support the kids who need your support, right? And it'll also help you find the kids who are asking directly for support, the kids who are falling behind. And it's also kind of an attendance thing, right? If you see a kid who didn't respond, then you might need to reach out to him. You might need to make a phone call, like we heard mentioned by Rebecca earlier in the episode. But this is a great way for you to check in with all those kids. I didn't use it in a remote learning situation. I use it in a live classroom. But hey, I think it might work really well in this situation. Super secret code is Scratch, as in the computer programming and creativity tool that Parker was so excited to tell you that she likes. Scratch, SCRATCH. So head to eduducttape.com/certificate and type in the super secret code Scratch to get your certificate of listening, laughing, and learning. All right, well, that's a wrap on this 3-part remote learning special that was episode 39, parts A, B, and C, with all 3 of my kiddos joining me and some great insights from the duct tapers. I hope that it helped you out. I hope that there were some ideas that'll help you support your students during these trying times. I hope there are also some giggles and things like that that helped you smile during these trying times. If there's anything else that I could help you with in the coming days or weeks, please don't hesitate to reach out. As I said earlier, there will be a chat this Wednesday night, the 25th at 9:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I hope that you will join us. There also, as I mentioned, will not be any educational duct tape episodes this week, but I will come back to you next week. I'm not sure what the format will be for those episodes. If you'd like to hear more remote learning stuff, please reach out to me and tell me what it is you'd like to hear about. What question would you like me to maybe ask the duct tapers that could support you in this situation? And remember, please subscribe to the show so you don't miss out on any episodes when they come out. I would love for you to share about the show and rate the show and join the Facebook group for the show. But what I would really love is if you stay healthy, you stay positive, you keep supporting your family, you keep supporting your friends, and you keep supporting your students. I appreciate you for being you. I appreciate you for being here, and I appreciate what you do for students. Have a great week and stay well, friends.
Thank you for listening to the Educational Duct Tape Podcast. Please visit eduducttape.com to join the discussion, share possible topics, inquire about being a guest, or contact Jake. And remember, duct is spelled with a T, not a quack quack K.